All right. So, let's talk about WandaVision.
You're traveling through another dimension. A dimension not only of sight and sound, but of mind. A journey into the wondrous land whose boundaries are that of imagination. That's the signpost up ahead. Your next stop, Westview.
Domestic scene. Summer. The present. A witch named Wanda sits in her kitchen. Occupation: Avenger. Status: missing. A telekinetic mind reader, the furthest thing from commonplace. So what is this woman doing in the jungles of suburbia playing house with a vibranium humanoid? In just a moment, Wanda is going to have to concern herself with only survival. Because, as of 3 o'clock this hot August afternoon, Wanda will be stalked by another witch. WandaVision is a Marvel television miniseries created by Jacqueline Shaffer, which premiered on Disney Plus on January 15th, 2021. Reprising their roles from the Avengers series, Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany star in the 9-episode production to the delight of Marvel fans everywhere. The episodes were released weekly, with the exception of the first 2, which were released simultaneously back in January. So why is this worth discussing? WandaVision serves as a stark departure from the previous gritty Netflix action dramas including Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage, and the other one, the other guy, the green guy, well, I mean, he's not Bruce Banner. He's a white guy. Was like the least favorite of the Netflix shows. Anyways, it's probably not that important. It's also substantially different from the 23 films released since 2008. WandaVision begins in black and white with multiple homages to The Dick Van Dyke Show, I Love Lucy, and Bewitched in the first 2 episodes. While it appears that our 2 main characters are not fully aware of how they got there, or when they arrived, the tone shifts from light to unsettling as Wanda and Vision attempt to host a dinner party for Vision's boss. As the viewer, you aren't really sure what exactly is going on, but you're intrigued enough to continue on, or at least I was. It's not until episode 4 that we learn that an entire town is missing and Wanda appears to be the person who's kidnapped them. I would say that WandaVision is guilty of burying the lead, but that isn't necessarily a bad thing. On the one hand, this reveal had me hooked. I thought, cool, I wonder how they're going to get everyone to safety. Are we sure that Wanda is the one controlling everyone? She seemed just as confused as everyone else. On the other hand, this strategy could have the opposite effect and put people off from watching it because the first 3 episodes have like 4 unsettling things happen in the entire 60 minutes between them. Number 1. Vision's boss chokes on a piece of toast while his wife screams at all of them to stop it until Vision saves him. Number 2. Wanda hears a voice on the radio speaking to her until the woman she is standing with breaks a glass in her hand and ends their trance. Number 3. A man in a beekeeper suit appears from the sewer as Wanda and Vision look into the street. Wanda seems to see him as a threat and rewinds time. Number 4. Wanda's pregnancy accelerates at a supernatural rate, and when confronted by the outside world by Monica, who has become trapped in the simulation, Wanda blasts her outside of town limits. These are all strange and interesting occurrences, and they were enough to keep me invested in what was going on, but I'm not sure that that could be said for everyone. Another issue with this show, and this is something that could be applied to many pieces of serialized media, is the constant use of plot points that are introduced only to go nowhere or be retconned. Two of the biggest plot points that are introduced and then immediately abandoned are New Pietro and Agatha Harkness. To be fair, Agatha Harkness herself isn't a plot point that goes nowhere, it's the way that she's used, and I'll get into that more in just a second. Back in 2014, X-Men Days of Future Past was released to generally high praise, receiving an average score of 90% on Rotten Tomatoes based on 327 reviews. Evan Peters was cast as Quicksilver, the son of Magneto, and was immediately likable due to his deadpan delivery, cavalier attitude, and that incredible kitchen scene. Just 1 year later, Avengers Age of Ultron premiered with Elizabeth Olsen and Aaron Taylor-Johnson cast as the Maximoff twins, Wanda and Pietro, two non-mutant children born to two ordinary Sokovian citizens. Fast forward to 2021, and Evan Peters shows up in WandaVision claiming to be Pietro back from the dead. So, multiple things are happening here. We have an actor who gave a memorable performance as the same character from a separate universe, now seemingly reprising the role in this Marvel series. Now, it's not the first time a character from a Sony property was allowed to perform in a Marvel production. I mean, we did get Spider-Man after all, but this is unprecedented. Was this going to confirm the multiverse tease from Avengers Infinity War? Social media was blowing up because of this, with theorizing from fans of the series. Disney effectively let fans create their own ad campaign for this series, something that would draw people in better than any trailer that they could promote on their own. How do you keep adults who are paying for the streaming service to continue subscribing or to resubscribe once they've watched all of The Mandalorian and their favorite Disney Renaissance movies from the 90s? Wanda and Vision, they're interesting, but if you were anything like me, they weren't that much of a draw until people started talking about the show. Because of the serialized nature of the program, people had a whole week to blow up Twitter and TikTok with fan theories and pointing out Easter eggs. This free advertising worked tremendously. Until the finale, Ralph Boner. Not Pietro. Evan Peters was nothing more than a dick joke. Just some guy that Agnes, or rather Agatha, was controlling all along. And Agatha Harkness, while she had that catchy theme song and appeared to be the one controlling the simulation the whole time, it still ended up being Wanda. Wanda accidentally created this alternate reality all on her own, and Agatha just sort of stumbled upon it. So, for everyone that thought Wanda seemed just as confused as everyone else, and this was the proof that she was also a victim, no. Agatha was just another third act villain that wasn't even responsible for the whole mess. See, this is the trouble with serialized fiction. It might seem like a good idea to introduce things to the audience to keep them guessing and keep them coming back till next week, but if you all of a sudden change what those plot points mean, or you ignore them altogether, it leaves the piece feeling rather shallow as a whole. I subscribed to Disney Plus for WandaVision once the series had almost aired all of its episodes, so I watched it nearly all at once. Because of this, it felt like I had whiplash from how fast a concept or a character was introduced only for it to mean nothing at all. It almost seems accidental. You know, like the writers didn't know where they wanted to go with the series. But when you think about all the free advertising that they got from the near constant social media stream every week, it had to be on purpose. The disappointing thing about WandaVision is that if you end up going back to re-watch it, the show is not going to land the same. That being said, it is still an interesting show. I would almost call it an experiment given its structure and tone. Not only do we get one of the few well-written romances in the MCU, we also get to know these characters as people. Elizabeth Olsen and Paul Bettany give it their all throughout the series, and they try their damnedest to get a laugh with some of that clunky dialogue in those first few episodes. I know that they were trying to emulate the writing style of the 50s and the 60s, and I have to give the writers some credit for the accuracy, so get off my back, guys. Catherine Hahn is also amazing as always, and I think that she should take more campy villain roles because this one was killer. Please don't hate me. The exploration of grief and trauma was also brilliant. Now, there is no shortage in the MCU of traumatic childhoods and adulthoods for almost every single named character. It sort of goes with the territory of a superhero story. But with this series, confronting loss and grief and how you're supposed to go on is very much at the forefront. Though Wanda traps herself in a new reality in order to escape her grief through denial, when she finally confronts it, she's able to move forward and now investigate this new power that she never knew she had. I kind of like that message, that you're stronger than you know, and once you begin to deal with your grief, you can begin to learn how to harness that strength. I don't know, maybe that's a reach, but I'm keeping it. So, now what? Is this what we can expect from future television? For production companies to just capitalize on serialized narratives and use cliffhanger after cliffhanger and plot hole after plot hole just to keep people guessing for free advertising on social media? I mean, shit, it worked, didn't it? It worked on me. And I mean, WandaVision, it has its problems, but at least it was different and it was creative. I hope that that is the direction that Disney will take the Marvel series into. That's what we need, is more creative and different storytelling. I know you can do it, Feige. Give us more of that, Kevin. You are not the only one cursed with knowledge.